Anyway, so I just want you all to know that I'm going to present a little bit of a maybe different perspective than you're used to. But hear me out because I really do think that we'll all, find a lot of common ground here. So, anyway, good evening, everyone. I'd like to thank you all for inviting me to come speak. I'd like to give a special thanks to Kristen Grubbs for coordinating my visit here to Cameron. And thanks to Heath Gilbert for his tireless work to bring some sanity back to Cameron R1 schools. Again, my name is Chris Barrett, and I represent the organization Gays Against Groomers as the Missouri chapter leader. Gays Against Groomers is a not-for-profit organization of gays, lesbians, bisexuals, and trans people fighting against the medicalization, indoctrination, and sexualization of children under the guise of the so-called LGBTQIA plus community, as I like to call them, the alphabet soup. We are fighting back from within the community, and today I'm going to join the fight to protect kids here in Cameron, Missouri. Unfortunately, certain forces within the school district want to push more than education. To be fair to them, they probably think they are just being inclusive. But what is really going on here accounts to indoctrination. One book that seems to be a favorite of the woke is the book All Boys Aren't Blue. And this book can be found here in Cameron school libraries. Supposedly, this is a book that is appropriate for gay and lesbian youth. These are the things they think gay youth need to learn about according to All Boys Aren't Blue. The book starts off with a discussion of gender and how the reality of a person's sex is irrelevant. The book presents an incestuous relationship between two male characters as normal. It graphically describes sexual relationships and gives details on what sex is according to this author's opinion. It embraces calling gay people queer, which is a slur that trans rights activists and their supporters like to use to refer to us. Books like these are not inclusive. They are insulting to us as gay people. It assumes that we somehow are so oppressed that we need to we can't even figure out how to live our lives. It also assumes that being gay must require you to learn about gender ideology. When I was a young gay person, you know what I was looking for? I just wanted to know how to talk to my family about my feelings. I did find those books in my high school library. They weren't graphic. They weren't condescending like All Boys Aren't Blue. And they certainly never included a conversation about transgenderism. I think what's most disturbing about these books marketed to gay and lesbian youth is that now they push gender ideology, the belief that gender is more important than a person's actual sex. This truly concerns me because gender ideology is particularly harmful to gay people and really is harmful to all sorts of people. But gay youth go through a lot when they grow up. Often we are gender nonconforming. When I was a kid, I liked to play with Barbie dolls and dress up in pretty clothes. According to modern gender ideologues, I would be a candidate for so-called gender-affirming care. That's what these books are introducing to people. These characteristics of gay people make them particularly susceptible. And a lot of us grow up questioning our role in society. Are we men? Are we women? Whatever the case may be. But, the simple fact is that most of these feelings we grow out of by the time of adulthood. They simply need to just be left alone and everything will be fine. Out of the majority of the kids out of the majority of kids, according to one study that experience gender dysphoria, most of them end up being gay or lesbian, and just left alone, that's what they grow up to be. But please hear this. These books that introduce gender ideology are dangerous for all kids. Kids can be talked into accepting this for themselves. This is why we see this rise in what is called rapid onset gender dysphoria. These kids that have been exposed to so much transgender propaganda that they have come to believe that they too are the opposite sex. I've talked about how this negatively affects gay youth, but autistic kids and young girls are particularly susceptible to these ideas. So what's the real danger here? What are the possible effects of books like All Boys Aren't Blue? Well, they can certainly cause a kid to question their gender identity. We are told that if we challenge a person's questions about gender identity, they will possibly commit suicide. Well, according to a study released in 2011, people who transition are 19 times more likely to commit suicide than their peers who have gender dysphoria but did not transition. So introducing children to these ideas are quite literally life-threatening. Ignoring these books is somehow appropriate for kids that enables an additional danger. This is what Cameron R1 schools are ultimately doing to our kids by not keeping these books out of students' hands. They may not be their intention, but they are causing harm. But these inappropriate books don't just cover gay and lesbian issues and gender issues. They can also be inappropriate for introducing explicit heterosexual themes. Again, for instance, one of the books that we were talking about is The Blue Eye. The Bluest Eye. Yes, thank you. And this, again, this book introduces themes of incest. It's extremely graphic in its depictions of sex. One has to wonder why the Cameron School Board thinks these books are appropriate for their students. Why do kids need to know about such graphic details about abnormal sexual relationships? What purpose does this serve? As a child sexual abuse survivor, I was introduced to sex at 5 years old. I was violated time and time again. For me, it was a family member. Many days I still wish I could totally wipe those memories from my mind, but I can't. I was exposed to something my young mind was not ready to handle, and I have had to deal with that my whole life. I'll be damned if I let bureaucrats and school districts expose kids to the very things that have caused so much pain in my life. I want to emphasize that this is not about restricting access to knowledge. It's about safeguarding our children's well-being. We have a responsibility to provide them with the tools they need to grow, learn, and become well-rounded individuals. The only way that is going to happen is through robust community input. Unfortunately, the board has decided to keep their book review process under wraps. No records are kept, and everything is done in secrecy. This is not how a community works. This is how a dictatorship works. But carefully considering the books we make available in our school libraries with an open process and community involvement, we can create a supportive and safe learning environment for all. Lastly, I just want to say that this isn't really a gay and lesbian issue. It's not a straight issue. It's not a bisexual issue, whatever issue you want to say. Protecting kids and preserving their innocence as for long as possible is a community issue. We need all of you here to fight. Speak before the school board. Keep holding these rallies. Talk to your neighbors and about what's going on. We won't fix all of this through just a few people. It's going to take all of us. Let's get out there and fight for the kids of Cameron, Missouri.
Can I ask you a question? So it has been said that individuals that have endured abuse find healing in these books? Could you please address that? Can you educate this community and our school board and our school district, please? I've tried.
That's ridiculous. No, it's just simply making me live through that again. That's all that does. It doesn't give me any sort of healing whatsoever. You know, I mean, I said in my speech, I would like to actually forget these things if possible. So having that shoved down my throat as a kid, it's bringing the trauma back all over again.
It's triggering.
Yes, absolutely. Thank you. Yes, absolutely.
Thank